Welcome to the Hidden Why podcast, episode 982. My interview with Mary and Ali, the founding members of the Brain Ops group. I hope you enjoy it. G'day, Ali and Mary. Welcome to the Hidden Why podcast. Great to have you here today.
Thanks.
Thank
Great to be here.
Where are you in different locations?
We're in the state of Ohio in the U.S. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's about 8 o'clock, you just said there, Ali, tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, have you both had a nice hearty meal? I guess it's warming up there a bit at the moment.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. We're on to spring foods now for dinner.
Spring foods. What are spring foods?
Oh, the grill. Mostly the grill. You know, grilled everything. Chicken, vegetables, all those things.
Yeah, nice. Mm-hmm. Well, look, welcome to the show. It's great to have you both here. We don't often do this on the Hidden Why podcast where we've got three people going at once, but I reckon that's going to add even extra value for our audience out there. So hopefully we can share some gold today. Now, look, you both are the founding partners of the Brain Ops group. Tell us, maybe one of you, just tell us, what is the Brain Ops group, how did it form, and what is your mission?
Sure, I'll start. So this is Mary Rensel. I'm a brain doc, a neuroimmunologist, and a coach. And I was giving a lecture to professional women, and I wasn't sure if anyone would come to the lecture because I just thought, there's so many great lectures at those professional meetings. And then everyone came, they had all these questions about how they can, help their brain and optimize their brain. And I thought, well, I know the science. That's what I love. I love reading the research and the science behind brain health and brain optimization and function. And then I was like, oh, I need to partner with a coach, and help, humans get this into their life. And so then I partnered with Ali Hively. So we created Brain Ops Group.
So you're a neurologist.
I am.
Is that what you, Yeah, is that the right word?
It is. Yeah. Yes.
That whenever I hear that word, I just go, "Wow, that's pretty crazy."
I know, right?
Kill. And Ali, what about yourself? What's your background?
Yeah, so I'm a life coach, lifestyle coach. I focus on helping people build habits, specifically just focus on their lifestyle. So just like your audience is always working toward, I feel like those personal development, sleep, nutrition, movement, mindset, all those things that go together. And so Mary and I really have partnered because with all of her research, people are always wondering like what matters most and what does the science say? And then at the same time, they're like, well, how do I fit this in my life? And so we're really huge on helping people to implement. Exactly. Yep.
So it's really about self-improvement.
Self-improvement, building resiliency, especially after this past year with COVID, everyone's looking for new strategies for their current lifestyle, which was definitely different than the past year and, different than the year before that. So really helping to just kind of narrow it down to what matters when it comes to productivity and focus and what you can do for actually the organ in your brain to help you improve that. And then how do you implement that in your busy life,
Yeah. What's this word resilience? I mean, give me a definition there from your standpoint.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mary.
So resilience means, getting over hurdles, around hurdles, recovering from a stress or a challenge. And the nice thing about it is that it's a learned skill, rather than a character trait or a personality that's more fixed and can be maybe adjusted some, but resiliency is learned, and we've all learned so much of this year with the global pandemic. But, I think what I always like to talk about is that there are ways that we can support the brain. Number one, learn about it, get some brain wonder how it works a little bit, wonder what you could do each day to help it, wonder, what you should do today for your tomorrows.
Yeah.
So that's the important thing is just not leave it to chance. We don't want to just leave it to chance. Do
you think resilience is more a skill rather than an attribute?
Yes. Yeah, it's learned. Yeah, we can learn it. We can polish it. Absolutely.
Okay. How do we go about learning resilience?
Yeah, so I think first understanding your organ that makes you resilient, which is the brain, of course. So that there's personality traits in there on how we may approach things, but they say even confidence to approach something new or to practice resiliency is only about maybe 25 to 50% determined by your genes or your personality and your your family's maybe approach to things. And so it leaves a lot of room for, like you said, self-improvement, to learn these daily skills so that you can move forward and jump over hurdles or just be ready, because one really the only constant we have in our life is that things will change.
Yeah.
And we just need to be able to handle that in a healthy, safe, effective way, for ourselves and our families and our communities. And COVID sure has taught us that, that we need to have some tools.
So resilience is like really an ability to get back up again after we get knocked down, sort of thing. Is that it?
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Go around, challenge, over, to keep going, in the face of a challenge.
To keep going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is certainly something, I guess, that a lot of people have faced recently with the pandemic, but saying that's not uncommon with change. I mean, change is, like you said, I like that. It's the only constant thing that we know. So resilience is a big part of all that. Is the best way to practice, or build this resilience skill or muscle just by going out there and trying new things and falling over?
Yeah. Exactly. That's one way, right? We've actually created a framework that we really like to teach in our workshops and, with people, and we are from Cleveland, Ohio, so it follows the CLE, which we see all around our city. And
what's the CLE?
Really has to do
Cleveland, Ohio. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Cleveland, Ohio, or CLE for Cleveland. Yep, exactly. So CLE is our framework, and it really has to do with connection, lifestyle habits, and emotional processing. So really being active. Mary's research shows that being active in all three of those spheres on a regular basis, a daily, a weekly basis, is really the way to build brain resiliency and optimization, especially when it comes to improving like focus and productivity, which people are always looking for strategies right now to do that.
Okay, so just talk to us again about CLE. C is for connection, L is for lifestyle
habits, yep, and E is for emotional processing.
Emotional processing. So what we need to do is try and activate these centers every day in practice, and that'll help build up resilience.
Yep, and we can and go ahead, Mary, about explaining all three parts are needed.
Yeah, so right. So if we have a multi-system resiliency plan, not just one thing, because typically if you think of those as three spheres, you have the connection, you have the lifestyle, you have emotional processing. Sometimes you have a place you are very comfortable in. Maybe you're really good at, keeping up with your friends, or, getting to know your neighbors, or serving in your community. So you're very well connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe the other ones you're not so keen on, that you don't really want to eat healthy or sleep well, or or even think about any emotions. You're just going to keep going strong and going fast, so that there's generally, when you think of those three spheres, most people have their kind of happy place, the place that's easier for them. And, you must be active in all three spheres for the brain to be optimal. And we've learned that, like we've all seen some people do really well through COVID. And you're like, well, what do they do with the strains and stresses and the challenges and the changes and, day-to-day changes in the family and work and school. And we've seen some people really have such a hard time. And if you have those skills in all those areas, the brain is, potentially wired differently, potentially more efficient in certain areas. So the brain will be ready for change and ready to, come up with good ideas. The more relaxed and calm we are, the more the front part of our brain kind of turns on and can be more creative. We can have more higher level thinking. But if we stay in the fear, like we can't handle these changes, we can't do it, that kind of shuts down, and that's more of our emergency zone, our emergency state. And so then that is not our creative state. So in order to have optimal brain function, you have to know kind of how to manipulate your neural state, from to a more relaxed state, from a stressed, worried state, so that your brain can kind of turn on, be creative. And then in order to support the organ that it is, the lifestyle really matters. And emotional processing is really just imperative for healthy living. So we know folks who, have certain mood disorders, et cetera, maybe because of their genes, but there are some folks that can either use emotional processing to enhance their living, even though they're living with a mood disorder, or to try to avoid mood disorders by emotional processing, which is sometimes a really scary thing for people to approach when they're not really sure what that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we unpack each one of these, what you're saying is that these will help us sort of be more calm and relaxed, so the front part of the brain gets activated, and that's the part of the brain that helps us with creativity. And what else does that do with the front part of the brain?
And it's like our executive level thinking. So it's the thing that will help us like take in data points and assess things and see certain patterns and be able to, be more.
And that'll help us deal with the change then more
exactly
easily.
Right. Exactly.
And therefore be more resilient. Okay.
Exactly right.
So when we talk about these individual parts or spheres, connection, again, explain to me that is. I'm guessing it's about connecting with others.
Right. So, we hear about our social network, or, if you're new and a job, they say, hey, get to know people or build your
Yeah.
network. You go to networking events, you know that's important for work. Not that people don't think it's that fun, but, when you think about, who do you know in your community? Do you volunteer? Do you keep people around you that have healthy behaviors? If so, that those are your resources to live life, right? The people that are around us or you have access to. So your social group, even your work group, determines how well you do in the job, and it determines how well you do in life, like what resources you have. So your social network is your social net worth, they say, right? So if you're more of an introvert, that's fine. Absolutely, there's different patterns to this, but even studies have shown, even if you volunteer in your community, people have longer lives. They live more healthily because they're more involved. They get to know people. So your social connections really should be a priority. And, a lot of times people move away, or, it's someone from, or you move, you take a new job and you have to set up a whole new network. Well, it's good to be intentional about that. And if you find, I don't really have anyone in my network anymore that exercises or that cares about what they eat, or talks about any kind of healthy nutrition or a healthy lifestyle, you want to bring those people into your inner circle. And be very intentional about replacing people if somebody moves or what have you, because that is determining, your outcomes, how well you'll do, is who you have around you.
So making sure the connections that we have are healthy connections.
Right.
Now, with those connections, question I have is that, if I'm a community person, I just go out there and I do community events or whatever, and that's my, connection sphere.
Right.
Is there need to change that up as well? Can you become complacent in those, circles?
Yeah, it's good to kind of think about it and assess it. I mean, that's one of how Allie has helped me as well to explain the science to folks is to have folks, kind of assess where they are. There's no right or wrong, but sometimes that I'm much more comfortable in this sphere than the other sphere. If I'm much more, outgoing, appreciate being around people, but I don't want to talk about emotions, or I'm really good at emotions, I don't want to talk to people, So, it's good to assess where you are and then learn a few new skills if necessary to, to keep going and to build your skills. But sometimes, half the battle is saying, I'm in a good place. I'm really good at this. I'm doing a good thing. I know this really matters for my creativity and my thinking and how I feel and my energy levels. And so, and my work productivity. So, good job. Pat yourself on the back if you're doing well on all these spheres. That's great too. Sometimes people have some opportunities in one or two of the spheres that they just need to be intentional about it.
Okay, what is the science behind this idea of connection? Is it about the need for belonging?
Yes, actually, yes. So community and feeling that you have a purpose. That's super important to the human brain, that you want to lead your values. What's important to you leads you. And so if you don't feel like you're serving or you're at one or congruous with your values, then you feel kind of like something's wrong. You're missing something in your life, so that's where a lot of times if you're not sure you're doing the right thing, doing a little value assessment, like what is really important to me and do I live that? Is that in my schedule? That I say that's important, but when I look at my schedule, I'm really doing other things. So that's where sometimes people just stop and like something's missing in my life. That's where a good coach can usually like pull out, here's a pattern I see. You're saying it's important, but I don't really see it in your daily activities.
Yeah. Do you feel that this whole connection piece is a big part missing from a lot of our lives?
Yeah.
With technology
it's
and that?
certainly very different. Yeah, and I think everyone has kind of put it. Well, a lot of folks have said, they've, that now they see the importance of it, even just, in the workplace, saying hi to someone in the hallway. You realize the value of seeing other humans, and that the brain really likes to connect in a deep way with other humans, and that we pull our emotions from other people, even though we do it subconsciously. So it's important to be around other humans, and that's been obviously very hard. Because Zoom is only so good, in pulling and feeling all the feelings and the emotions from others.
It's got its place, but is there science behind this or studies that have been done that show that this whole social connection piece is not as effective digitally?
Yeah,
Or
I have. Yeah, I finally, there was a study that really helped me understand because I feel so tired when as a neurologist, generally we're always with people. We're seeing people in the clinic or in the office or the hospital.
mm,
And when we went on the computer, I said, why is this tiring? And so then there was a study that suggested that the brain is like scanning the screen to try to connect, and it's actually trying to, it's
oh,
taking it more work, to try to connect over Zoom because they can't get all the cues. The brain can't get all the cues it can do when it's in person. So it's working very hard to try to connect with all the brains it's seeing on Zoom. So I thought that was an interesting concept in the study.
that's cool. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, connection piece makes a lot of sense. What can we do to connect more?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
being intentional. What do you think, Al?
Yeah, absolutely. I think checking things over, like you said, if you know you already checked that box, then giving yourself a pat on the back and not necessarily feeling the need to add to your plate. But if you don't feel that connection, or like oftentimes right now, people are like, oh, yeah, I'm pretty connected. And maybe they're speaking a little bit more toward the past, like they were going out with friends regularly, going to a book club, doing something with the neighbors. And that's kind of, fallen away over the past year because of all the things that have changed. And so really connecting with their awareness of what's happening right now, not like what they were doing and what they are going to do, but like what's actually happening right now. And so that's the first thing, is being really clear on that. And then
I guess it's a hard one
really,
for people to go, well, what's a fair level of connection? Because
right.
what's a good level for me may not be good for that, extrovert that just needs people around them all the time. Like my daughter, my eldest daughter, she just always needs that focus and people and always wants to go play. And the other one's quite calm being by herself,
Right. And really checking in with yourself. What do you need? But also noticing, like, if you don't need anyone, your brain needs people, So I feel like there's probably that middle ground, and recognizing the type of connections too. So the awareness on, like, who are you spending your time with? Are they a positive influence from a health habit perspective and a positive mindset and an optimistic perspective, or are they people that you're in close proximity with, but they actually leave you kind of feeling drained at the end of spending time with them? And then shifting those connections to be quality connections that have a positive impact.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's sort of a measure that you could take on yourself based on, your mood or your level of happiness or something, I wonder.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the strong introverts know. Yeah, a lot of the strong introverts know they get more rested or they get more drained when they're around a lot of people, and they're more energized when they're by themselves. And the extroverts get really energized, like it sounds like your daughter, when they're around other people. So a lot of times you can see where you get your energy from.
Yeah, that's
what
true.
you need personally. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about L for lifestyle. What are we talking about here?
Allie,
this is probably a big important.
This is a loaded one, right? So this covers exercise, nutrition, sleep, and then those toxins like alcohol and tobacco. So really the research that Mary's research shows is that exercise is hugely important for the brain, and she can talk about the science of that. And so it's the same thing. How can you get that into your day, and really recognizing where you are doing that right now and what that's looking like, not like, again, what you used to do or what you're going to do, but what kind of exercise are you making happen on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, and how are you making that as enjoyable as possible so that it gets done, right? It happens.
That's a challenge, isn't it? Making it enjoyable.
Exactly. And there's a million ways to move your body, and there's one thing that COVID, I think that just the world in general is like, we can access now everything, from online. So from a dance class to a boxing class to a, whatever, they're accessible. Exercise is very accessible online. It's not necessarily the ideal choice. Ideal could be getting out in nature or getting out in nature with a friend, which would actually be like optimal, right? You're connecting and you're moving your body.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's so many ways that we can be active right now that we have to just find something that we like. And then, right, that's a whole section. Then nutrition is another one. So how are we feeding ourselves, eating whole foods, healthy fats that are so important to the brain? And what are we doing on a regular daily basis? What are we consistently doing? Not what are we doing once in a while, but what does that look like to give ourselves the proper energy? And then sleep, which is hugely important to the brain and to processing emotions and being able to handle stress and actually, washing away those toxins. Mary can dive into a little bit more about that, but really prioritizing our sleep and recognizing how important it is to our ability to handle change and our ability to be productive and resilient on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I certainly know the effects of lack of sleep, and towards the end of the week, I'm a little bit more vulnerable, I feel.
Yes, absolutely.
What's
Absolutely.
so exercise, sleep, and reducing or having limited toxins, I suppose. When we talk about toxins, I often, just say it's not just what you consume, whether that's alcohol or, too much sugar or something like that, but maybe the mental consumption as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. It's the environment you bring your brain to, and that's, what you're watching or what you're listening to, or yeah, exactly, right. So it's the environment, exactly, the water, the air, everything. And mentally it is interesting, even something as simple as a good night's sleep, like you said, you can tell by the end of the week you're already have symptoms, emotional symptoms, and that's been clearly shown that a good night's sleep helps our cognitive abilities, or our ability to think and create again, can be enhanced by a good night's sleep. And so can our emotional processing. So, if you notice in the meetings you're flying off the handle or what have you, you got to think back, like, how did I sleep? What did I do to make sure I had a good night's sleep? Did I prioritize it? Did you watch those Netflix or what have you all night? Those kind of things. And so there are things we can do each day to just do what the brain needs, which is, good night's sleep definitely should be on the list.
Yeah, well, exercise very favourable. Good night's sleep, and then watching the consumptions. The sleep. Talk to me about sleep and the science behind the brain functions. Is there an optimal amount of sleep that we should be taking, or does it vary?
So there are some people that need less than 7 to 9, but most adults need a good 7 to 9, mostly 7 to 8. There's a rare person that could do very well long term on 6 hours, but that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
So there's our sleep cycle is a whole 24-hour cycle. So one thing you can do is, as soon as you wake up, try to get bright, if it could be natural light in the morning in your eyes, so that you mark your cycle, the 24-hour cycle, to tell your brain, like, this is morning, I want to be tired, and so that you're tired in 12 hours, so it's easier to go to bed. So natural light really matters. And what we're seeing with COVID is a lot of people are kind of working in corners or basements or what have you, as they get up and just go to their home office or what have you. So they, they're not really getting a lot of natural light. And so we just want to make sure that everyone knows that that's really important, that it's not what you do the 10 minutes before bed, it's what you do all day long that will determine your sleep.
I feel sort of 6 hours is what I sleep generally. I don't believe it's enough for me, but that's just what I do. It seems like it's auto.
Right.
Is there any recommendations you have for people to help them sleep?
Yeah, so definitely get the light in the morning, and throughout the day, some physical activity is really helpful. And then again, the stress, whatever you can do for stress management, because that'll calm down the chemicals that will just enhance our normal sleep. So stress management is really important. And then a healthy diet and not a lot of sugar before bed, because sugar is almost like a stimulant to the brain. It'll wake it up, because the brain naturally will start to go and release some neurochemicals that will enhance sleep, like our own melatonin. Like we naturally release melatonin before bed. I know a lot of people go to the store and get it, but our brain is already releasing it to try to start the system. Yeah. So what you do all day long matters, and what you do the hour before bed matters, so that if you're on screens.
Those evening routines.
Yeah. Just really prioritize routines and winding down, and not going from like a really scary movie, right, jumping into bed. You want to kind of give your brain some time to wind down and relax. And when you start getting cold, it's your body telling you it's getting tired. We physiologically, have a change in the body when it's starting to go through the beginning pre-stage cycles. So a lot of people will just kind of ignore it and keep going, but that's your body saying, like, this is when I want to go to bed. That's when the body wants to go to bed. Yeah. And then, sleep in a dark room, a cool room helps. Alcohol isn't good, a couple hours before bed. Because it stuns the nerves, and then the nerves kind of wake up in the middle of the night. So people who drink, right before bed or an hour or two before bed will wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yes.
Because the body didn't naturally put itself to sleep. It just got kind of stunned by the alcohol. Yeah.
I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I generally don't, during the week I won't have any alcohol. I try to anyway. and I have no problem going to sleep, but my brain activates,
Sure.
quite early at about 4 o'clock, and it might be just light sleep until 5, and then I'm out and active. But yeah, it's interesting, but I think it all sort of connects. All these parts that you're talking about today connect with one another, don't they?
Yes, absolutely. It's important.
And isn't the goal behind this, like the lifestyle and the connection piece, like you said before, if you can exercise with people, how good is that? And like you think about food and how food is such a big part of our culture, and how it used to be a big part of our culture, and probably not as much. Like most people just get their microwave meals and then go sit in front of a computer and, eat their microwave meals in solitude. But it really should be, let's have a feast, let's get creative together, let's cook food and talk. And, I think, imagine if we could bring that back to that scale.
Right. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Bringing the connection into all the piece.
Right. Slowing down.
The emotional part, now talk to us about that.
Well, so, we tend to say like you have such a big heart, or that the emotions come from the heart, and, they don't, they come from the brain. And, healthy emotional processing is really important for just it's vital for living, really. So if we don't know what to do with our emotions, they seem to get bigger and cause more troubles. And so there could be simple things that are very helpful, just as simple as, writing down 3 emotions 3 times a day for a week, just to kind of see how is your week and what's your pattern throughout the week. And just learning to name emotions without any kind of plan to do anything about them. We really don't have to change our emotions. We just need to acknowledge that they're there, and sometimes give them a name. The kids have a cute little chart with all these different like happy, sad faces on it, and all the ranges in between. I think, even as adults, sometimes we need those, because I don't know, I feel something, I'm not sure what I feel. And a lot of times our first response is to try to get rid of that feeling. And if we just kind of sit and breathe, take some deep breaths, it will adjust our neural state. So it'll even adjust our emotional state. So some simple ways to adjust our emotional state is, take deep breaths, because it relaxes us more. Move, go for a walk. If you're really feeling something and it's just uncomfortable and you don't know what to do, just some movement, a little dance or a walk or something. Just the movement will change the neural state, which is nice. And then furry pets help, so dogs and cats and what have you, they will turn on certain emotions in our brain, and we'll sense their emotions, and we'll feel different emotions because of that. So there's ways to kind of manipulate emotions, but the worst thing is just to not know what to do with them, because they tend to come out sometimes either as symptoms or as unexpected outbursts, etc., just because they weren't really processed throughout the day.
Do you I'm just sort of thinking about, the lack of connection and a poor lifestyle, and how much that must affect this whole emotion center that we have.
Oh, 100%, right? Yes. So because we know sugar can change, even, the organ we have in our brain, a little part of the brain called the amygdala, which is our kind of anxiety. It's always scanning. It's protecting us. It has to deal with many emotions, including anger, and it physically looks different when people have more healthy meals. And even just people going through therapy, if they need, psychological therapy or something, their amygdala can look different after therapy. It can structurally change. So, yeah, there's a lot we can do. And if we need to get professional help, absolutely do it, because it's really an important skill. And it can be learned again.
So you talked about sort of meditation maybe, and calming the mind to help with that, the emotions and the processing of them. Is there any particular practices that you prescribe to yourselves, or?
Well,
absolutely. The nice thing, what do you think, Al? Which one do you use?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's all of them are good, like you just mentioned, journaling and meditating for sure, and then just the act of building that habit of noticing the feelings can be exactly what you need. But I would say starting small with those is the biggest thing, and really recognizing what feels good to you and what feels comfortable, and knowing that at the beginning of starting, especially one of these habits, well, I guess all habits, right? Exercise is the same way. It's not necessarily going to be comfortable, and you have to kind of sit through that discomfort, whether it's a 5-minute meditation or kind of like your pen to the paper in the journal, and you're like, not sure what to do here, I'm not sure what to write, and just kind of get through that discomfort until you can move through it and recognize like, okay, there's, just imperfect action. Starting small is going to be the best way. Definitely, I'm a huge journaler and meditator, and Mary is the same. We always encourage people to schedule them, especially when they're starting that habit. So just putting it on their calendar to meditate for 5 minutes, putting it in your phone to remind you to ding, to just kind of take a pause or to journal can be some of those best ways to kickstart this habit when you're like, ooh, I know I should start feeling my feelings more, and I don't know how to really connect with myself right now, you know?
How do you journal, Elle? Like, what's your process of journaling? Like,
Journaling? Yes. Oh, I'm a big journaler. So I can write and write and write, but I always encourage clients and people getting started to use lists to get started. Oftentimes I'll, starting with the list of gratitude is one of the easiest ways, because you just get your mind flowing and your list started, and then a list of things that you want to feel more of. So really identifying those positive feelings you want to feel more of. And then at the same time, things you want to release or let go of, or feelings that you have felt in the past 24 hours or day or week that you no longer want to kind of carry with you. So maybe that's frustration, disappointment, anger, whatever's kind of coming up. But really starting in a list format can get your mind to just let it flow, because oftentimes people are judging themselves when it's just them in their journal, and they feel like if they're putting their thoughts to paper that it can be scary at the beginning. And so just kind of getting through that beginning part, that you don't need to save your journals. If you're just writing it out, you can write it out, rip it up, throw it away. You can write it on a scrap piece of paper. It doesn't have to be something that you then like go back and look at. You just want to use it as a tool to process whatever you're feeling and get it out of your brain, get it out of your head, get it out of your body, and then kind of leave it there,
Do you have a particular time of day when you journal? Do you do it every day, or how does it look for you?
Yeah, for me, I do it every day, and I do it in the morning. I'm an early riser too, just like you. And so I love that cup of coffee quiet time to really set the intentions for the day, and even just like intentions for the week, the year, my life. Getting clear on how I want to feel. It's a great I love to do it as like a vision activity to just kind of lay that out. But oftentimes I use it to just work through specific things that are going on too. Just like, okay, I'm going to let go of this that was bothering me yesterday, and this that's been hanging over my head. And I just write it all out in the early morning. And then throughout the day, I feel so much lighter. I do know a lot of people that like to do it at bedtime, especially if they have trouble sleeping, because then they can kind of dump all their thoughts out and then go to sleep with like a calmer mind, knowing that they've cleared that out. So I think
I think you got to adapt it to your own style. I mean, I certainly
exactly.
I feel in the morning I sort of a bit more philosophic, and that night I'm probably a bit more just reflecting and letting things out. But I think you have to keep going until you find that rhythm and that comfort of writing, and then you'll find the joy of doing it as well.
Exactly.
Mary, with yourself, have you got a particular practice that you prescribe to other than journaling that you think might be beneficial for the audience?
Yeah, I think I tend to look at my week on Sundays and see where I can sneak in, 10, 15 minutes of either journaling or weightlifting. I like to go running or walking outside in the morning before work. At least a couple days a week, because I love connecting with nature before I'm in the office all day. That really helps me. Or now we're having nicer weather, so I can be out in the evenings too. But and for me, I purposefully, put some calls in with friends or family throughout my week, either driving home or something, and just be intentional about that, about connecting with folks. And I didn't used to put myself in my calendar, but I learned that from Allie. So I do put myself in my calendar now. And I just like, oh yeah, it's easy. So this day I'm just going to lift weights 20 minutes, and the next day I'll journal or I'll meditate. And I did start meditating regularly during this COVID time. Everything slowed down, and I certainly felt the value of it. Absolutely. I love just finding good ones on YouTube. They're so accessible. Just some great ones on YouTube that I can go float on a cloud for a while, and then my days are just better. It's not that I feel amazing right after I do it, but I do notice if I miss some days, my days are not as smooth, and I just don't feel as solid throughout the day.
That's the critical point, isn't it? If you don't do it, you do notice the difference. Whereas
I notice, right? Yeah. Exactly. So then it makes it worth it to me. Then I go, that's more of a priority, because I do see the benefit of it. Yeah, absolutely.
What are your thoughts about having a process and a routine. Like, do you think routines are necessary for everyone to follow? Because I really feel routines for me are just gold. I mean, they just make life better. But I also know that there must be some truth to having a bit more of a sporadic schedule as well, as far as, resilience and change goes too. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's power. It's like you save your brain a lot of brain energy when you have a schedule.
Yeah, true.
But I agree. I mean, there needs to be flexibility because unexpected things will come up. And some days I think, oh shoot, today was my journal day. I missed it, so I'll just do it the next day. So it's not that you can't keep, pick up and if you did miss something. But I agree. I mean, my days are not exactly the same, but I do want to get so many days of lifting in each week and so many days of journaling and so many meditation days. So I have like a big picture of what I want to get in, but it may not look exactly the same each week.
No.
Yeah.
That's what I think is key for people too, to kind of give them the permission, like when life is similar, or some people are just naturally more driven to be able to follow their own expectations and their own routines, where other people need more accountability to follow those. So kind of checking in to see what makes a routine easy for you. Are you the type of person that can just kind of make a calendar and stick with it for yourself, or do you need to, rope in a little more of that accountability? And then also when it comes to trying to find the flow, then recognizing what the habit and the routine are, like what the intention of them are. So if the intention is exercise, then that's what it is. It's getting in movement in your body. It's not your 6:30 a.m. workout, because if you miss that, then oftentimes that black and white mindset can kick in to say like, well, I missed it, so I missed it, instead of thinking like, I have the whole day, I can potentially squeeze in this some other way. So recognizing that the habits can be the actions themselves, like the act of journaling, not the time of day, but the actual act, or the act of exercise, but not necessarily a time of day. So I agree, routines and habits, absolutely for me too. Like, I know if I do it this time, it's going to happen. I don't have to think about it. But I do feel like in a way to get some more flow back, recognizing like, oh, it doesn't have to be done at that exact same time. I want to get it done today. So like, where can I be a little flexible, creative, in allowing that? And that sometimes that little bit of permission opens the door for people who have a hard time sticking to a specifically set routine. Yeah,
no, I love it. Good stuff. I think the best place for people to reach you, is it at the website brainopsgroup.com?
Yeah, that's awesome. And we love to connect with people on LinkedIn too, and just have conversations. And absolutely.
Yeah, look, I feel like what we've discussed today, a lot of it makes sense, but there's probably a lot more depth into each of these areas too. So a great place, guys, would be to go to that website. I'll stick a link in the show notes as well. Go there, check it out, and see what you think. We can go from there. But Mary and Ali, thanks so much for coming on today. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for having us. Absolutely. We love your show and all that you do.
Thank you.
Yes. And stay well.
Thanks. Guys, listening, episode 982. You can check it out at thehiddenwhy.com. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon. Thanks, guys, for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. I hope you love what you're hearing. If you like this episode, guys, or any of the episodes that you're listening to here at The Hidden Why, please do me a favor by sharing it. You can share it with your families, you can share it with your loved ones. You can do that by using your favorite social media channels, using the icons on the platform that you're listening to The Hidden Why podcast. Also, guys, if you're a fan of the show, please connect with me. Connect with me at thehiddenwhy.com. I love to hear from you. I love to converse with the people that listen to this show to find out what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, and perhaps if they have any questions or feedback for the show as well. You can stay up to date with all that I'm releasing here, guys. I do a solo show every Monday, a 3-minute thought every Thursday. I do 2 interviews a week on a Wednesday and a Saturday, and a book review every Friday. You can stay up to date with all that by subscribing to my newsletter at thehiddenwhy.com. Just enter your email address there, and also subscribing to the podcast on the platform that you choose to listen to your podcast. You can also support the show, guys, by using the Amazon links at thehiddenwhy.com. So if you like books, you can get all the books that I review there, and anything else really that you like to purchase through Amazon. So use that link, it helps support the show. And we've also got a deal with Audible, guys. Audible is a fantastic way to listen to all your favorite books. We've got a deal with them, so you can get 2 free books when you subscribe, or subscribe to a 30-day free trial. So check that out again at thehiddenwhy.com. Guys, that's it from me. You know what to do. Go out there, breathe more passion into every single moment. Do everything with greater purpose. And in doing so, you will discover your hidden why. This is The Hidden Why. My name is Lee Martinuzzi. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon.